Greetings, y'all. Greetings. Welcome to another video. I am Steve, your host today, filling in for someone more famous than me. Jeez, I can't believe I couldn't even think of somebody off the top of my head to just name my celebrity or whatever. It's hot outside, you know, what can I do? The heat is having an effect on my brain. Or at least that's the story I'm sticking with. So today we are diving into the CD collection. We are going to spotlight the band INXS from Australia. Great country. I've been there a few times and am anxious to return. One of my dreams in life is to go there and rent a camper van and just spend a month or so just driving around. I did a bit of driving when I was there on one of my visits, and yeah, just an amazing place. If you've never been there, I highly recommend visiting there. But we are not here to discuss Australia. We are here to discuss one of Australia's favorite bands, INXS. I think the whole country agrees. Kind of alternate, you know, I don't even know if I need to explain who they are. I think they're pretty familiar to everybody. You know, alternative, as I go in and start explaining them. But, you know, I think they were lumped in with sort of new wave and certainly alternative, and now probably are thought of as like classic rock all these years later. But they had some massive success in the mid to later 80s. Just became like one of the biggest bands in the world at one point. And then it just kind of all faded away, you know, surprisingly. You really kind of thought that they were going to be kind of like challenging like U2 and stuff for this like artist supremacy sort of, but it didn't happen. But they were for a brief period of time a very big act. And I got a handful of their CDs, not all of them, but let's just dive in. This is up first, Shabu Shuba from, what is this, 1982. And this isn't, I think they had one or two things released before this. I'm not sure if like their debut is called just INXS, but I know there's like something that I don't even think was released in the United States that I've been kind of looking for, with some earlier material of theirs that I think was only released maybe in Australia. But anyways, first one that I have chronologically, this isn't the first CD by INXS I picked up, but based on when they were released it is. Really good record. Somebody put an original issue sticker on here. I don't know if that means it's worth anything more than it is. I don't know, but pretty good album. Got a nice little booklet here. I don't know what that says. All the lyrics. Mostly lyrics. And then another picture, which looks like it's basically just the album cover, right? But this one's pretty good. If I haven't already said that 100 times. The One Thing, which is an awesome tune, and I'm sure it was released as a single. I don't know how well it did in the States. The other one on here that I'm really familiar with is Don't Change, which ends the album. That's an awesome track. One of my favorites by them for sure. I always thought that album, I don't know, I never saw them live. I don't know, you know, what their set list was really like, but I always felt like Don't Change was like the perfect song to kind of start a concert with, or it would be, you know, just always seemed like a great one to kind of just get the ball rolling. Yeah, pretty good record. I'm not that familiar with a lot of the other tunes. I haven't listened to these all that much. Some of them that I did listen to a bit, it's been years since I've dug into the INXS catalog and listened. Next up, I have The Swing, and this one is got probably the little fold out booklet there. I don't know, like, I don't know what their first chart success in the United States was. Like the, you know, from that last record, The One Thing and Don't Change, I feel like they must have charted a bit in the States. They had to have. On this one, I know Original Sin definitely charted and had some, you know, kind of started making some noise for the band here in the United States. Trying to think. None of the other ones are really jumping out at me. Again, I haven't listened to some of these ones all that much or in a long time. But then we get 1985, Listen Like These. Now, this is where they really start making their mark in the United States. You know, What You Need was released as a single. I don't know if it was the first single, but that was released as a single here in the States and really kind of did very well on the top 40 chart. It was a pretty big success. Might have hit the top 10. I don't remember 100%, but it was very popular. And I remember liking that song and buying the cassette of this back then, probably 85, maybe 86. Went out and picked up the cassette. This is a really good record. You have the title track, Listen Like Thieves, Shine Like It Does, Good and Bad Times. This Time is really good, but maybe my favorite song by INXS is on this album called Kiss the Dirt. I love that song, and I remember hearing it. I don't know if it was released as a single. It might have been, but I do remember hearing that on the radio back then a bit. But yeah, this is a really, really good album, and it sort of sets the, you know, the scene for what comes next. In 1987, we get this one that I'm sure you are all familiar with, Kick. And I remember when this came out, the first single was Need You Tonight, and that was very popular, a big, big hit. And I liked that song, but I wasn't bananas about it. Like that song, I just remember I always was waiting for it when I first heard it to like kick in. Like I was always expecting, you know, INXS has a really specific and unique guitar sound to the band. And I remember the first time I heard Need You Tonight, like I was always just waiting, just anticipating that sooner or later the guitar is just gonna like kick in and this song is gonna, you know, turn into like something else, but it never does. So I guess that was a little disappointing to me. But when this album was released, I bought it like probably the day it came out. I bought it on cassette originally. But it's a classic. I mean, it's definitely one of those albums where you've kind of heard all this stuff so much. I mean, everything on this album was played to death on radio and MTV that, you know, it's definitely one of those albums where I never have the urge really to listen to this for that reason. You know, it's got nothing to do with the songs not being good or years go by and you're like, I don't know what I was thinking. That wasn't that good. It's an awesome album. The songs are amazing. I got rid of my original CD and replaced it with this one that I found in a Goodwill, I think in North Hollywood, for like 99 cents. This is like the reissue with a couple of bonus tracks and everything on it. And it's got nicer, as you saw, it's got some nicer liner notes and stuff. So that's what, I think they did this with their whole catalog, but this is the only one that I picked up, you know, for the bonus tracks and the reissue and everything. But you know, what can you say? This album made them like the biggest band in the world. They were playing, you know, huge shows and just massive tour around this album. Like I said, they were like on par with U2 at this time as the biggest band. And, you know, they carried that tour on for a while. And then finally in 1990, we get the follow-up, which, you know, everybody was anticipating. And we get X, which I believe it was X, but it was also referred to as like X is like the Roman numeral for 10, because I think this kind of also celebrated their 10-year anniversary of being a band. This came out in 1990, so I guess they started in 1980. And this came out, and you know, it did very well, but I think, you know, because of the level they you know, reached with Kick, that I think it still was kind of looked at as a little bit of a disappointment. You know, again, that happens all the time because it didn't match the sales of Kick. And when was it gonna? I mean, Bad did not match the sales of Thriller. You know, it just never happens. You know, it's just the way it goes. But it's a really good album, and the booklet folds out as this poster. And I think if you buy like the reissue, this is the full cover. It's not, you know, just that one corner, but you got some lyrics and stuff in here and pictures of the band and what have you. Yeah, I bought this probably right when it came out. The first single was Suicide Blonde, which I really like. I still like that one. Disappear was good. The Stairs is a really good song. By My Side is really good. Bitter Tears, I think, was another single for them. And they all did fairly well, but it just wasn't like this, you know, monstrosity that was Kick. So then I think this, I don't know, that was 90. Then in 1992, we get, I don't think there was another album. This is the follow-up to X. We get Welcome to Wherever You Are. This came out, and again, it did well. Like, you're just seeing the sales just get like divided in half as they go. And it just is obvious now that they're not going to be able to maintain that level that they achieved with Kick. You know, they're just kind of like sinking. The sales are getting smaller every time. The singles aren't doing as well on the charts anymore. And this was packaged in a weird version of a digipack. In the early 90s, you know, they used to have those cardboard long boxes, and they got rid of those. And I think a lot of people were starting to have issue with, you know, CDs being packaged in all this plastic. And so people were sort of looking for alternative packaging options. And a couple of artists tried some things out. Sting tried something that was like a long box that after you bought it, you could fold it down into like a regular size jewel case. INXS worked with this company and created this sort of like hybrid plastic and cardboard, sort of like a hybrid jewel case digipack. And I remember always having a problem. How the hell this stupid thing opened? There we go. So yeah, inside we got this, and then there's the CD, and there is a booklet though. I think if you buy it now, the reissue is just in a regular old plastic jewel case. And here's the booklet. But this album, you know, it just did okay. I mean, a couple of the songs did fairly well chart-wise as singles, but I think the reception the whole album got was a little lukewarm. I think people had kind of moved on, weren't starting to lose their interest in INXS, at least here in the United States. I feel like in Australia, they're probably still very, very popular. So this record, and I think I didn't buy this one right away. I think I got this later on from one of like the record clubs. Yeah, it says it right here, Columbia House. But this one's not bad. It's still a pretty good record. I mean, they all had like, you know, a good 4 or 5 songs that I really liked on it. Not Enough Time was another ballad, did very well. Beautiful Girls, really good. I think the lead single was Heaven Sent, and I love that song. It's one of my favorites by them for sure. I really like it. I think I remember hearing at the time, and I don't remember if this is true or not, but I thought that there was some story around that song, because the vocals on that song are kind of like distorted. And I thought there was like a story at some time, like they recorded a bunch of stuff, and then after, when they went back to listen to it, it was like messed up or something like that. But they listened to it and they were like, oh, we kind of like that. Like, it might have just been for this song, but they were kind of like, oh, we kind of like that weird distortion. Let's keep it. I don't know if that's true or if it was just kind of like a PR story to promote the album, but I remember hearing that back in the day. And you know, I do like that. That song is really good, and I do like that kind of distortion that they use on the vocals. It's kind of interesting. So that was kind of it for me with INXS. I just wasn't interested in what came next. Wasn't really paying any attention to them. It kind of lost interest, like a lot of people. And then years and years go by, and maybe I want to say it was only like maybe 2020. I was listening to, there's this great music podcast that I listen to called The Hustle, hosted by John Lamoureux, who does a great job interviewing different artists. And one of the Ferris brothers, who are in INXS, he was on there. I think it might have been Andrew Ferris, and they were talking about, you know, the career and all the albums and stuff. And they started talking about one of the albums, later albums that I wasn't familiar with, and he played like a little snippet of one of the songs, and I was like, you know, that doesn't sound too bad. Maybe I should give that a chance, you know, and give it a listen. So I went out and picked up the CD. I found it used pretty cheap. This is from '93. This is Full Moon Dirty Hearts. And thought maybe I'd kind of discover like a later period INXS album that was really good, and I wasn't that crazy about it. You know, it sort of ended up kind of, you know, verifying what I kind of thought of INXS at that period, that, you know, it just kind of wasn't that interested. You know, the songs that they were coming up with, I just wasn't a big fan of. Something was missing, you know. I don't know. I mean, Michael Hutchence, you know, later in his life obviously has led to him passing away at a very early age, but, you know, I think he kind of was going through some issues, probably even as far as early as when this record came out. But yeah, I don't know, just didn't really do anything for me. You know, I really was hoping it would, but, you know, I listened to this a couple of times back then, and honestly, I don't even remember which song it was that I initially heard that made me think to pick this up. Maybe The Gift. For some reason that stands out. I don't know if that was the one or not, but yeah, I was a little disappointing with this, and I think they put out one more record after that, Elegantly Wasted, which I remember the title track was okay, but, you know, I never had any desire to pick up the record, and kind of still don't. I don't know. Let me know if you're familiar with that. Maybe convince me that maybe I should pick it up if I find it for a good price. But, you know, and that was kind of it. Michael Hutchence passed away. You all know that unfortunate event. And then the band goes on this reality show and brings in a new singer to find a new singer. They go on the show, and I don't know how that was really met with. You know, it seemed a little goofy, but yeah, that's kind of it, you know. Yeah, let me know what you think of INXS, if you ever got to see them live, you know, if you've been a fan since the beginning, or when you jumped on, when you jumped off, perhaps. Maybe you never did jump off. But yeah, be interesting to hear some other people's take on this band out there. I feel like they're one of those bands, like I said, they got really, really popular, but I feel like, you know, they maybe just didn't get the, you know, the respect that, say, like a U2 had gotten at some point in their career, even though now U2 is kind of goofed on. But, you know, I don't know. They just always seemed like they never really quite got the respect of for their contributions and their music. You know, like everybody was almost like, you know, waiting for this to like wear off and people would move on, you know, or see the band as like, yeah, they're not that great or something. But, you know, they're a good band. They were a great band, and, you know, a couple of these albums, you know, are really fantastic. So thank you for watching, and we shall see you the next time.